Hi, this is Jay Arthur, and welcome back to the biggest mistakes everyone makes in Excel charts. I think one of the biggest mistakes out there is we have million-dollar companies to billion-dollar companies that are all using very primitive, underpowered charts to manage the business. It causes so much waste and rework, you can hardly believe it. All right, and most of the time it looks something like this, where there's a bar chart with a target line or some sort of bar chart with another cumulative line on top of it, and it gets a little busy, and everybody looks at it and nods and moves on. These kinds of charts, just the basic charts you can draw in Excel, are pretty much underpowered for what you're trying to do, which is manage a large enterprise. All right, so what we need are dashboards using performance charts. So here's an example of a hospital that was managing VTEs, which is blood clots, and tracking how many patients had blood clots in these various hospitals. And so here you can see we have at a certain level. And a performance chart is going to tell you what the average is, so you can kind of count on that, right? And then it's also going to give you an upper and a lower control limit. So we can kind of see the lower end at this point is 0, but the upper end is about 4.5%. So we can count on some variability in here, but on average it's around 1 point something percent. Now there are other hospitals that aren't anywhere near that, right? So they're running much lower in terms of VTs. So this one's under 1%. This one's right at 1%. This one's a little bit above, but the variability is much smaller, right? And here we have much more variability. So the control limits help tell us what's going on with this particular hospital and how we might analyze it. And here's another one, and they have a much tighter performance, but still running about a 1% error rate. Right? So we don't want patients to have blood clots because that's bad. All right, so this kind of chart can be easily constructed now. In the old days you couldn't, but with Microsoft Excel and the QIMacros, you can do all of this stuff very easily. And here's an example from a production line. We're measuring mechanical efficiency and operating efficiency, and you can kind of see that operating efficiency has been coming up here a little bit, and it was up here. Right? So it's moving in the right direction. Once you start measuring things, it starts getting better. Well, we'd like our mechanical and our operating efficiency to be pretty good, right? Because that means we can get more throughput through the plant. So that's kind of the idea behind these charts. So it doesn't matter if you're in manufacturing or healthcare or whatever kind of service you're in, you can take all of your data and turn it into some sort of control chart or dashboard that you can manage and look at it. And unless there's something really going wrong here, they had some power outage there or something, they were down for a while, then you can tell that there's not a lot going on. There's nothing we have to fix here. So these are the kinds of charts and graphs that you can quickly and easily create with the QIMacros. And in here, I mean, you can go into the control chart templates, grab an XMR dashboard. All you have to do is put your data in columns. So we have our axis labels, chart titles, right? And so if this was a hospital, this could be, let's make that a little bigger. So there's a hospital, this could be patient satisfaction, patient falls. And then you just come over to the QIMacros template and you can actually click on one of these little buttons and create the dashboard. And it'll go out and create a chart for each one of those. And using that, then it'll turn those into control charts, which you can then use to track and keep things up to date over time. And so this is a pretty simple way to go about starting to really use some more advanced tools to really manage the business. And from that you can tell what's going on. So here we have patient sat and patient falls, and they're all looking normal. So we could come back in next month and add some more data. So maybe that's 89 and 6.2. And then we could say refresh with stability. And the QIMacros would go ahead and add back in those new data points. And then we'd be in a position to actually see what changes have occurred in our data. All right? So that'll just add in our new data points. And again, there's nothing special going on here. So that's a great way to keep things up to date and track what's really going on. Now, if there's no out of control points, nothing in red, then there's nothing to do. So people tend to react from month to month. If it's up or down or something like that, it triggers a bunch of activity when there's nothing to do. Statistically, nothing has changed in how your process works. You want to leave your process alone unless it signals that it's starting to go out of control somehow, a trend or a change in some way, shape, or form. So really, everybody's using these underpowered charts that live out here and using bar charts and line charts, which just don't give you the intelligence you need to really manage a business. So this is Jay Arthur. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes everyone makes, is they're just using primitive Excel charts that are underpowered for the kinds of businesses we're trying to run today.